On a cold night, a group of young friends, Johnny, Jack, and Ellen, decided to seek a new adventure. They had heard of an old cemetery located on the outskirts of the city, and rumors said it was a cursed cemetery filled with angry spirits that appeared whenever night fell. They decided to visit the cemetery to challenge the rumors and test their courage. They arrived at the cemetery at midnight, which was surrounded by tall, dense trees, and the wind howled through the branches as if whispering mysterious warnings. They approached the old iron gate, rusted and covered with dry grass. The air was thick with the smell of decay, heightening their unease. As they entered the cemetery, they noticed everything seemed different from the daytime. The graves appeared to pulse with something strange, and the surrounding trees cast long, eerie shadows. The friends walked among the tombstones, trying to hold their breath to avoid breaking the chilling silence. At first, everything was quiet, but suddenly they heard strange whispers coming from between the graves. They looked around but saw no one. The whispers were intermittent, as if they were the sounds of people quietly crying, coming from nowhere. Ellen whispered shakily, "Did you hear that?" Johnny tried to reassure her. "It's just the wind, don't worry." But soon, they heard heavy footsteps approaching from one of the paths. They all turned toward the sound but saw nothing. Jack decided to check it out, but as he got closer to the sound, he felt a cold hand touch his shoulder. He quickly turned around but found no one there, though he was sure of what he had felt. As their fear grew, Ellen suggested they leave the cemetery, but Johnny insisted on staying a little longer to discover the source of the sounds. At that moment, they all began to feel like they were being watched, as if eyes were following them from the darkness. The temperature dropped sharply and a thick fog surrounded them, adding to the mystery of the atmosphere. As they tried to leave, they heard a sharp scream filling the air. It sounded like it came from deep within the cemetery, as if someone were crying out for help. The friends froze in place, terrified. Ellen's voice trembled as she asked, "Could someone be in trouble?" Johnny hesitated for a moment, but then decided they had to follow the sound. They moved cautiously among the graves, and as they got closer to the source, the whispers grew louder and clearer, as though people were surrounding them, speaking in ancient, incomprehensible languages. Finally, they reached an old tomb, half buried in the ground, covered in deep cracks. As they approached the tomb, it suddenly opened, revealing a mysterious light. Faint, ghostly hands reached out from the tomb, trying to grab them. The friends were struck with intense fear, screaming and trying to escape, but the fog grew denser, as if the cemetery wanted to trap them. A ghostly hand grabbed Jack's wrist and pulled him toward the tomb, and his hand began to freeze from the biting cold. Ellen screamed and ran to try to save him, but the closer she got, the weaker she felt, unable to move. At that moment, an old woman in tattered clothes appeared among the graves, screaming at them. "You are not welcome here. Leave before it's too late," Johnny shouted loudly. "Please, let our friend go. We'll leave right away." As soon as he spoke, the ghosts began to fade, as if the old woman had control over them. Jack's hand was released, and the friends rushed toward the cemetery gate, running as fast as they could, not daring to look back. When they finally emerged from the cemetery, they felt as though they had narrowly escaped with their lives. They were all exhausted, their hearts pounding from the terror. Ellen glanced back and saw the old woman waving at them with a mysterious smile before she vanished into the darkness.